Hello, and welcome to The Fool and the Philosopher.
The Philosopher and The Fool.
Been watching a lot of videos on YouTube still.
Yeah.
As I wait for my arms to someday heal miraculously. Waiting for Jesus to come back and just touch my arms. And, hasn't happened yet. But I was... I've been watching some videos on game design. And...
Yes, go on.
I watched a couple interesting ones. So there's a guy called Rasputin who does a few videos like what playing Breath of the Wild is for a non-gamer, or what playing Mario is for a non-gamer. And then he has another one which is games I wish I could play again, like for the first time.
Yeah.
Because he, like me, is very much into exploration games.
Yeah.
So he, like Breath of the Wild, he loves that first feeling of going through it. He loves Shadow of the Colossus, which is another exploration sort of game. And you can play those games again, and there's enjoyment in playing them again. But it's never the same type of enjoyment because, well, in Shadow of the Colossus, you learn how to defeat the monsters. Like, it just doesn't tell you anywhere. You have to figure that out. Yeah. So that's gone. You just know what to do, and you do it. And Breath of the Wild... You've seen the world. Now, the advantage with Breath of the Wild over basically any open world game, I think...
Is it's freaking big?
Is it's massive. Like, there's bigger worlds.
Yeah.
Like, I think the Witcher world might even be bigger.
Yeah. But
most of these games, they're... it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of emptiness.
Yeah. What's the one game called? Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
Does a pretty decent job, I've found. Just from what I've seen of it.
Yeah.
Like, there's stuff usually happening everywhere. You can go visit places.
I think my problem... Like, I haven't played Red Dead Redemption 2. I've played number 1, which I enjoyed. But I haven't played number 2. But my problem with it, from what I've seen, and my experience with number 1, is even though it has this massive world, it's more of a... Like, it's not entirely a set piece, but it's much more of a set piece than Breath of the Wild. Because Breath of the Wild has a physics engine. It has a... well, temperature is part of physics, but I think when we say physics, we generally mean like
gravity,
falling bodies, bodies in motion. But it also has a electricity system, a heat system, wind system, cloud, like a weather system, rain, and climbing, and the interlinking of these systems is so freeing. Like it lets you, like, you can cut down a tree, you can shoot a flaming arrow at an apple on a tree and it'll fall down cooked. You can shoot a lightning arrow into a pond and it will shoot out and hit all the metal barrels around and electrocute everything standing on them. Like, it's so much freedom that it gives you, that you can actually interact with the world. Like, if you discover a new area, it is more than just something pretty to look at. It is something like, if you find a statue just off in the middle of the wilderness, you can climb all over that statue.
And then once you get to the top of
you'll find a Korok.
Yeah.
And the Koroks are actually brilliant because they're the developers saying, like, yeah, we wanted you to do this.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we were here too. Because you can just chuck down a world and you can randomly generate the gaps in between and you can plonk down a bunch of statues and it'll look pretty cool. But if you have to, like, crawl under a rock and swim up through some water, and then there's this little ledge that's just kind of in the middle of nowhere, and you go up there and the Korok pops out, then the developers are like, yeah, we were here too. And it's just that nice little feeling of connection, and also of, like,
a world that's lived in.
And lived in, or like, it's complete.
Yeah,
I guess lived in a way.
Occupied. There's actually something going on besides just being a set piece.
Like,
some little Korok decide to hide under a rock, or
like in real life, if you pick up a rock, you're probably going to find, like, a spider or a centipede or a worm under it.
Yeah.
And the original Zelda game, the whole point of it was, he said he wanted it to be, well, he wanted it to mirror the feeling of exploring the backyard, like, because he used to walk around in the forest of his
What's with these Zelda guys? Like, one guy's a bug collector, the other likes walking around his backyard.
Well, yeah, that was Pokemon. That's actually interesting because Thief, which is another foundational game. Yeah. Apparently the design, I just learned, was the guy, when he was like 9 or 10, he was going through this big building. Yeah. And like, it was his dad's work or something, and he was bored and he was wandering off. And he was up in, like, much, like, higher levels of the building where visitors are not supposed to be at all. And he just thought it was so cool. He was walking around where nobody was. And then what happened was he found like this little cupboard or something.
Yeah.
Or like this little like side passage. And he went in there and he could kind of see the hallway.
Yeah.
And he saw a security guard walking by.
Yeah.
And he froze because he knew he wasn't supposed to be there. But in the act of hiding, it sort of made it worse, right?
Yeah.
So he was just like holding quiet, hoping the security guard wouldn't find him. And he wanted to replicate that sort of feeling of intense like dread and fear and anticipation and excitement of like, I can see him, he can't see me, please don't find me. He wanted to replicate that. So that's...
Well, it's a little bit better than like the creator Thief is childhood, like he robbed a bunch of places.
Yeah, he just went around stealing from everyone. So I thought that was kind of... All these foundational games are based on people trying to share their experiences.
Yeah.
But yeah, Zelda, he wanted to do exploration, but he also called the game a little garden that you can put away in your drawer.
Yeah.
And I think Breath of the Wild, this has been said before, is like this actual sequel to Legend of Zelda.
The first one.
Yeah, and A Link to the Past. Like, the series in a way goes like Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, Breath of the Wild. Like, it's almost a trilogy or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure you could fit like some of the Oracle games and Link's Awakening and stuff in there. But so maybe those links then. So you have the hero... I don't know what the first Link's called, actually.
Hero of Hyrule.
Hero of Hyrule, sure. And then the hero of Legend is the third Link, actually. Because the second Link is the 2D game.
Yeah.
And then the hero of the Wild. Yeah. I think those three heroes kind of are the actual Zelda games. And the, like, Twilight Princess, Spirit Tracks, all of those, they're like side games. So because it is about exploration and discovery and like, but yeah, so
other you know how in Breath of the Wild there's those ridiculous Pharaoh boats, which like the balloons puff up and they go flying through the air.
Yeah.
So imagine the second game, right? You have like some sort of like flying objects just like that float about in the world.
Oh, you mean those like if you attach a balloon to a raft and you can make a sort of flying?
Yeah, but I'm saying like there's just like flying bits of debris in the world.
Yeah.
You get the hook shot.
Yeah.
And so while you have your glider, you can like drop your glider and then it goes into slow-mo like with the arrow and you take out your hook shot. Then you can shoot one of the things and you get yanked up.
That would be cool.
And then you can like launch yourself and recover some like stamina while you're getting launched through the air. Like you get launched past it or something.
I don't know if you've seen anything of Master Mode at all in Breath of the Wild.
No.
But it actually changes the map slightly. So one thing it does, it makes a lot of enemies tougher.
Yeah.
It also makes enemies regenerate, which I think is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
It adds like a Lionel to the Great Plateau. But it also adds like floating platforms all around the map.
Yeah.
Like they're these little like wooden platforms with balloons on them.
Yeah.
And
that's what I was talking about.
Okay. Because sometimes they have treasure on them, sometimes they have Boko Goblins, sometimes they have Lizophalos.
Yeah.
And yeah, that would be amazing if you could just hook shot onto them and fly up. But you can use Rivali's Gale.
Yeah.
To sort of go up to them. But they're yeah, that's the thing about Breath of the Wild. You look at this, and the developers actually, I think the reason they made number 2, they said they wanted to keep making DLC, and they had so many DLC ideas, they're like, forget this, let's just make a new game. And I think the reason is, once you have that baseline, you just think, what if this? What if this? What if this?
Yeah.
Like, you just want to keep throwing stuff into it. You want to, because every single thing you add now plays off everything else, and it just all... It exponentially grows, and it's amazing. Like it's like you just add one more mechanic, and all of a sudden, the world is that much richer and that much bigger.
And do you think like Breath of the Wild 2 will be like a new game or a continuation? Like, how can they actually... The way they set up, I guess, how can they make it a new game? Like, does Link have to get like all stuff blown off his body?
Well, I think he's going to lose his arm. Like, that's what a lot of people are thinking.
Well, his like little slate. Like, all those power-ups you get from the slate, you get those, like, the core mechanics in the first part of the game. That's something no other Legend of Zelda game's done. It's the tutorials where you get all the core mechanics.
Yeah, so I think... Here's my theory for Breath of the Wild 2, which will be horribly out of date once it comes out. But I think he probably does lose his arm.
Yeah.
And I think he gives the slate to Zelda.
Yeah.
Or... he loses the slate or something.
Yeah.
Or it gets destroyed. Or it just becomes inactive because the Sheikah technology is done with.
Yeah.
And he loses the ability to hold things with his right hand that he loses. So he has to instead like transform it into various objects because
he becomes a left-handed swordsman again.
Well, that's my side theory. Yeah, that he'll become left-handed again. But I think his right hand he'll be able to like turn into like he won't be able to grip things anymore. So he might like lose ability to use his glider, and he might lose ability to, and maybe like his energy pattern won't like work with the Sheikah Slate or something.
Yeah.
But so it'll all have to be based around the arm technology basically, or the arm magic. So he'll have to find a way to like turn it into a glider, find a way to turn it into a grappling hook, find a way to. And I think they need to rework the glider. I don't know how, but I think they need to make it worse. I think they need to make the default glider worse, and they need to make the best glider better, sort of, because you go from you start on the Great Plateau, and you have to come up with all these interesting ways to get places, like cut a tree across a chasm, carefully climb down, use balloons, use rocks. There's a lot of very clever ways you can get around. You get the glider, and the glider's the best option at everything. Yeah. And it's you just lose that whole layer unless you do it on purpose. Yeah. But at the same time, there's a part in the game especially which really stuck out to me. Well, there's two. There is the flying researcher who I think he just gives you money. I thought if you get maybe 1,000 meters, maybe he'll give you an improved glider because he finally learns how to do it. Or maybe he will invent a new glider and he'll use it to get down, and then he watches you glide 1,000 meters and then he'll say, "Oh, can you bring me 4 pieces of wood, a hide of one of those big purple beasts, and a bundle of straw, and then I'll make my own glider and get down." And it's funny, Link can teleport, so why doesn't he just give him the glider, teleport down, and then take it back? But anyways, so and then the world, everyone will have gliders or something. Yeah. The other thing he could have done is said, "Okay, I can make your glider more energy efficient, or I can make it faster or something like that, upgrade it." Yeah. The second thing is when you defeat that island out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And you do a bunch of other stuff. I don't remember what. If you end up back there, and the bird man, the hero of the bird people, not Rivali, but the living one, appears, and he says, "I'm going to teach you how to fly properly." And then he gives you this great big obstacle course that you can fly. It's really fun, actually. I think it's the best mini game they have. And he says, "I'm going to teach you how to fly." And I think if you get a good enough high score in there, you should have better flying technique. Again, better. You dip less, you can maybe in Mario how you can kind of go up and down. Yeah. He teaches you how to do that maybe, or gives you an extra jump in midair. You can use Rivali's scale in midair. You should gain something from it, because all the mini games except the horse one don't do anything for you but give you money. Yeah. I wish the horse mini game it gives you new saddles and bridles and stuff, which is cool. Yeah. The
sliding down the mountain gives you a skim, so it doesn't break when you go sliding.
It would be cool if, sliding down the mountain, you unlock the shield surf up, which is an enchantment that's in the game, but it nothing has it. I think that would be cool. If you unlock that, or you can apply it to things, or they're if you do a mission, he's right, here's a surfboard, or here's a whatever, or here's the new rune of surfing or something. Yeah. And if you do the bowling mini game, I don't know, you get a stamina bonus or a Korok or something. I don't know. You do I think it'd be cool if all these things gave you something that isn't necessary, but is not too hard to get, and you feel kind of I got this cool thing, because money is such a Breath of the Wild's biggest weakness. People say it's the durability of weapons, but I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is that the weapons don't matter because they break. So you don't feel when you open a chest and there's a weapon in it, you're meh. But if there's armor in it, you're still yeah. So I think this next game, it just needs more. Yeah. It needs more armors, more weapons.
Have you heard about they might have the Twilight Realm as well in it? No. Some people's thoughts?
I doubt it, but maybe I really doubt it actually. But I think it would be more likely to have low rule, and that's you can switch between worlds or something.
What if? Okay, so it has low rule, right? Yeah. And so Link, because Link falls, in the trailer. So Link falls into low rule, and you play as Link in low rule, and then there's points Or something like you can switch and you play Zelda in the new upper world that Link is slightly repaired. However, Zelda's got the Sheikah Slate, but she's not nearly as much as a fighter as Link.
Be interesting, because Link is like super strong, right?
Yeah.
So if Zelda couldn't use the glider, or she could only use it to stop her fall or something.
Yeah.
Like she...
And a whole bunch of things. Like she can't just pick up a log. She has to like figure out like some way to push it around.
Yeah.
But she's much better at using the Sheikah Slate runes.
Yeah. And so she's all about like getting extra runes, upgrading the runes.
Mm-hmm.
Like with her, you maybe...
Even just fighting with them.
You get like an ancient core and then you can analyze it and make a better Sheikah Slate.
You know like in water, how you like make the ice thing rise up?
Yeah.
Like what if she with the thing could summon a patch of water, then make ice grow up, and then she could make like ice grow at the other side of it, so it could basically like punch things.
Yeah. No, it'd be neat if she had a lot more versatility with it. And then, that'd be kind of fun. Because then they could...
And then their goal's trying to get back to each other or something. Like she's figuring out a way to get to low roll, and he's trying to get back out.
That would also give them options with restricting the design so that there's more interesting puzzle solving instead of just using Rivali's Gale and the glider. But also keeping it. So you could be like, okay, Link needs to get to this area, no problem. Zelda needs to get to this area. And then you could even do like an Ico or Eco sort of situation where like Link goes ahead, chops down a tree, pushes it off the edge so that Zelda can then like use that tree to climb up or something. Yeah. Like sort of a massive escort mission all the way through. Which it can be done well, like Eco did it well. Yeah. Most games don't. But yeah, so I was watching these channels like Raspberry Tin and stuff. And also one called Strat Edgy. And they both talked about how they... some game mechanics they don't like, and one of them was minimaps. And I really agree with their analysis because I have a problem with minimaps as well. And what they said was, you like in some games the minimaps are so detailed, you can not only play the game by looking at the minimap, but you'd be better off playing the game by looking at the minimap because there's more information on it and it's more readable. And so there's a few problems with it. First of all, you have to like kind of your eye glued to it. But it also makes the developers lazy because they don't have to make their world memorable. They just have to give you a dotted line on the minimap. Yeah. But you're looking at the minimap instead of the world. Even in The Witcher, I turned off the minimap eventually because I found all I was doing was following the dotted line on the minimap to the next quest, to the next quest, to the next quest. And it also can stress you out because you look at this minimap and you don't see like, oh, here's a little helpful guide for my location relative to things. You see everything that you haven't done yet dotted around it, everything you can pick up, everything you can collect. And I think the Witcher sense in The Witcher also does this where it makes them really lazy because instead of like, oh, there's a footprint, oh, here's this, they're really hard to see, and then you press a button and they start glowing red. Yeah. And so it's lazy to, like Breath of the Wild, again, does it amazing. Like, you're like, what is that giant statue on top of that mountain? I'm going to go over there. I had a moment like that in The Witcher where I saw a giant tree on top of a hill on the other side of the world. And I was like, wow, that looks really cool. So I got on a horse. I started riding towards it. I found a boat. I sailed across the water. I was running through past dragons and like I was low level and I was running past dragons and golems. I was like, I'm going to see that tree. That looks super cool. I started climbing up the hill towards the tree. Almost got to the tree and then it's like, Devil's Dance past here, World's Edge. And I was like, what? Why would you do that?
No, there's in a different part
What's wrong with you?
There's a thing like that where it's like this really distinct piece of landscape. And you go there, there's a few things to do around it. But then it's like, it looks like you should like go beyond it. Like that's its design. It's like, Devil's Dance past here. It's like, what? Oh, no, this is like, there should be something more.
Another case where The Witcher really fails at this is, I found this... There's like a hill in the middle of the map, so you can actually get to it, with this giant keep on top of it. And I was like, ooh, that looks pretty cool. So I like walked towards the keep, rode my horse towards it, found my way up to it, and I was like, okay, I'll walk up the hill towards it. And it doesn't have a door. It's like walls on all four sides. And I was like, wait, I can't get into this. Why is this here? It's like, it's named, it's a landmark, it's a crossroads, there's a fast travel to it. What's the point of this? And then a bit later in the game, I was doing a quest, and it turns out that Ciri goes there and teleports to the top of it, and then like she does stuff with it. Yeah. And so, I guess it's there so that you can be like, this is where Ciri was, and maybe you can find clues about Ciri around it. But The Witcher has so many issues with preventing you from playing the game. It's like, nope, sorry, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this.
Almost, it's a weird thing, because, like, it's a certain amount of work, and you want a world to have a feeling, but you honestly, like, you shouldn't have doors if they're locked.
I think it's okay to, as long as, like, the key is nearby. Or, like, you will get...
Well, I'm saying, like, the doors... Like, doors shouldn't be locked, as in, like, they can never be unlocked.
Right. Well, I think that's also okay. Like, the reason they've done it, I've heard, is because it makes the world feel bigger without ever saying, like, oh, you're just not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
So, because in The Witcher, a lot of doors eventually you can unlock. Yeah. So if there's one door in a city that's locked and you're like, oh, I can't get in, I'll find the key later. Then you're like, oh, this world's so big, there's something behind every building.
Yeah, I guess with Geralt won't knock down some random door as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't think The Witcher's a role-playing game. I think it's a Geralt playing game as well.
Yeah.
Because you can't attack the guards either or anything.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that illusion is worth it, like what you were saying. Like, I think a smaller world where you can do everything is actually probably more desirable.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes you forget about, like, oh, was this locked or not, which is kind of neat, because then you're like, oh, I'll get to that eventually. But there's so, like, I fought through this, I was level 4, and I fought through this, like, level 9 area, which is basically impossible in The Witcher. It took me, like, I don't know, 20 attempts or something. And I was cheesing it ridiculously.
Yeah.
And I finally fought my way to the bottom of this giant hole in the earth through all these level 9 bandits. Yeah. And I didn't level up at all, which, that's fine. I didn't need to. The success was its own reward. Like, I'm not super motivated by numbers. Like, some people say JRPGs are pointless unless you get experience, because then fighting's pointless. Yeah. Which really shows me the kind of people that are playing the JRPGs.
You just play cookie clicker.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's not all of them.
Yeah, I play it for getting more special effects.
But I think a lot of these people are playing it for seeing numbers go up, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's why they're playing it. For this, my achievement was just clearing out the area. But I got to the bottom, and I was like, okay, I did it. And then I found a gate, and I was like, oh. And I couldn't unlock. It was like, this gate's locked. And I was like, well, okay, that last dude I thought was really strong. He must have the key on him. I just didn't check. So I'll go check his body. There's no key. I like loot every single chest. Yeah. No key. I loot every single body, no key. There's also a locked chest I can't open. And I still don't know how to get in there, and I figure you just need a quest to do it, which is so boring compared to, like, you know, maybe you get a quest to do it, and they're like, okay, here's the key, just be careful, avoid the guards, like, get down there. Yeah. But if you happen to kill this dude that's, like, way too strong, I think you should be allowed in. Like,
I think they happen to fix that, actually, in Blood and Wine. Like,
I hope so.
They did it a lot better, I think, in that DLC. Like, it's incredibly... Because compared to, like, the first part of the game, like, Blood and Wine is basically just, like, a direct upgrade.
Because that really makes me concerned about Cyberpunk 2077, in that they have these tricks to make the world seem bigger. They don't let you go to the cool stuff that you can see. They level gate their items for no discernible reason. Yeah. Like, if they said something like... you know, the items are magic and you need to bind with them and you're not a strong enough wizard yet or something. Then it's like, okay, fair enough. Or if they're like, Geralt's not strong enough, which is ridiculous, but let's say that was the case. Like in Cyberpunk 2077, I'm sure they can lock it behind like levels of clearance or something. Like that is a level 3 handgun. You're not cleared to have that. But I think if they do that, they should also have it so you can like, you know, go to the black market and be like, hey, if I do like this really dangerous mission for you, can you like get me a fake level 3 pass or something for a certain, like they just the arbitrary restrictions is so, and also numbers like popping up. Like this is something that's really bothering me about the new Batman game trailer, Gotham Knights, where they showed enemies had levels and they had numbers. RPGs have levels and they have numbers because it's a real pain to keep track of everything, so they simplify it. Yeah. But
a video game doesn't need that.
The video game doesn't need that. Like, Elder Scrolls, from the get-go, demonstrated you don't need levels at all. Yeah. You can just give... Like, in D&D, you could say, okay, every 20 times you swing your weapon, you get a +1 to hit. And that would actually be a really fun system. Like, it couldn't... D&D would have to make it a lot harder. It'd have to switch to, like, a D100 system, not a D20 system or something. Yeah. My favorite method to do that, actually, is... every time you fail at an action, or you can just do it every time you do the action, or you could even do it every time you succeed, but that one's a bit slower. You gain 1 like pip in that action, and every time your number of pips equal your skill, it goes up by 1, and you lose all your pips. So if you have I have a 15 attack, and then I like miss 15 times, then I go to 16 attack.
Yeah.
Or if I hit 15 times, I go to 16. Something like that. You can.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really fun system. But that's a real pain to keep track of on pen and paper. And video games, they don't have to do that. They can. And also, like, numbers popping up, like, even random damage is a little weird, because the point of random numbers is that you have to adapt to outcomes, because sometimes you might slip on mud, sometimes you might miss, like, a vital spot, sometimes you might miss entirely. Yeah. But if games are getting to the point, like Skyrim or Mount & Blade or something, where you might as well just have, like, okay, the player actually slipped on a piece of mud, or they actually missed their head. Like, you don't need the numbers as much anymore.
Well, Mount & Blade, I think, has a very small damage variant, but they also now calculate speed of the swing, like your strength, the weight of the weapon, where you hit on the body, how solidly you hit, what part of the weapon you hit with.
Yeah, and I think that's...
And they still do damage, I think, just because that number kind of looks nice, but...
Yeah, I think people have become obsessed, like, it's goal fixate. What's that called? Mm-hmm. It's not goal fixation, it's the other thing. It's like how people become addicted to making money rather than to owning a lot of nice stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you
Although, actually, no, Mount & Blade actually doesn't have damage variation. Things just have a solid number. The damage does just depend on your character's power and where you hit.
Right. Which I think is... Yeah, that's neat. And you can have randomness. Like, that's to show, like, oh, I hit more solidly or not. Like, that's okay. But having these numbers pop up and taking you out of the world and having levels... Like, Assassin's Creed made the weirdest choice.
Yeah.
Where it's, okay, you're an assassin, so you sneak up, you take out the guy. It's like, okay, sneak up, you're not high enough level to backstab him. It's like, why? Is he a god? Like, a person is a person.
Well,
if I have a knife and I sneak up behind Hafthor Bjornsson and stab him in the back through his heart, he's dead. It doesn't matter. Like, if I was fighting him in a boxing match, sure, he would have an advantage. But you're an assassin. It's Assassin's Creed.
In Shadow of War, enemies don't really have levels. And so sometimes, like, this is the same with the old Batman games. You know, just that sort of, like, Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War sort of feel. And in Batman, where, like, you've played, like, the Batman games, right? And you're, like, punching, like, just some crook.
Yeah.
And he doesn't go down. And you're like, what? Okay, how many times do I have to hit this guy? And then you realize you've been, like, hitting one guy, and then you switch to a different guy, you've been hitting him, and then you switch to a different guy, and so you've actually not really dealt enough damage to any one target.
I haven't done that, but...
I have. In Shadow of War, it's like I was fighting this massive horde, and none of them were going down. It's like, why is this so hard? And I tap one of them, and he, like, goes down instantly. Like, oh!
But I think that's fine. And in that case, you can do...
But it's kind of like you don't know how near they are to being down.
Yeah, but in real life, do you... Like, I think game designers, they can do visuals, right?
Yeah, well, they do, like... In the Batman game, like, the guy starts stumbling about a little bit.
So you don't need numbers popping up in front of your face, taking you out of the world. So that's fine. Like, if you're hopping around, then that's on you. Like, you should... Okay, I've lightly tapped a bunch of people. I shouldn't expect to, like, be... And you're in the heat of a fight, so you're not necessarily keeping track. And also, games are at the point where you can just have the guy stumble. You can have it. So it's... And look, you're an indie developer. Your budget's limited. You're going to make the game as clean and clear and concise as possible. So having a health bar is fine.
Yeah.
If you need a health bar, you need a health bar. And if you think the players would really appreciate having numbers, which I don't think... Like, I think the goons in Batman, for example, should have about 4 hit points, and Batman does 1 to 2 damage. Yeah. So I think that's how it should be done. So you might take them down in 2 hits, you might take them down in 4.
Yeah.
Like, that's basically how I think it should be done.
Yeah.
To keep a little bit of variance, but not enough that you're, like... You know, you're chipping away at health, because you're Batman, you shouldn't.
Yeah, and Batman, like, shouldn't go into a place and, like, the goons are level 30, and he can't fight all the goons.
And it'd also be dumb if you hit one guy and he's down instantly and another guy takes 50 hits. So I think, like, give him 4 hit points, make Batman do 1 to 2 damage.
Yeah, and then if you want to have, like, power creep and stuff, have smarter goons, have more of them, have goons with machine guns, flamethrowers, have a goon with armor and machete, like that sort of thing. But
yeah, so you're a game designer, indie game designer. You don't have a huge budget to show people looking injured and staggered and stuff. Yeah. That's fine. But these numbers are becoming something further. Like, Ubisoft has money, and they already had a system, and then they added on this ugly system to restrict their own game.
Yeah, no, it's actually, I was kind of upset when I even saw, like, that sort of thing, like, there's level limiting in Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
And, like, there's HP, because I remember playing one of the original Assassin's Creed games at a friend's house. Not original, but I think it was with Altair. Is he the second one?
Yep.
Yeah, with Altair.
No, sorry, he's the first.
So, Ezio then.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, there's this one town, and we were playing, and, like, our friends were switching back and forth. Basically, if you die, then you switch. And I attacked one of the guards, and this huge horde of guards came, and, like, you can't fight them. Like, these are elite guards. But we found out there's this one section of the city where if you run off the wall and then jump off it, you can basically take down every single one of the guards with this, like, stupid abuse. But it's like, if they were level locked in HP, it's like, oh, you deal no damage to them. But whereas this is, like, kind of silly, but it's like, whoop, whoop, and assassin leap, whoop, whoop, assassin leap.
Yeah, so, back to those indie guys again, because I haven't finished that thought yet. They can have the crutch there.
Yeah.
And, but if you already didn't have it, adding it in afterwards is a little ridiculous. And also, if you have to have it, look at a game like Dark Souls, which actually shows you how much damage you do to each enemy. But it does it very, very tidily. It has a little number appear on their health bar.
Yeah.
And every time, and it's like like Dark Souls, you can see the whole world. Like, there's not a bunch of stuff cluttering your screen, and yet it gives you all the information you need. It's like, here's the enemy's health bar, this nice red line up here. Here's mine, this nice red line here. Every time I hit them, it shows the number, and then the number goes into the health bar, and the health bar depletes. And it shows the number, and it goes in, and it, like, adds up for the combo. It's like, it's very tidy. So we already have systems that exist that can do this. And...
But they want it to look like World of Warcraft.
With what you're talking about with, like, Assassin's Creed, where, like, you could run up the wall and jump and kill them and jump and kill them. So that's, like, an exploit that... I was watching another video where a guy was talking about how Nintendo's policy, when they find exploits like that, is to fix them. So if you have, like... he gave the example of the cat suit in Mario 3D World. Yeah. There's a glitch where you can rapidly cancel it in midair and reuse it. Yeah. And you constantly gain speed, and you can sort of float in the air and constantly gain speed, and you can, like, zoom through the game. And it's really neat looking, and it's very fun to do. And it's not too hard to do. And so in Super Mario Maker, the cat suit is very clunky to use. They actually made it harder to use so that that's not possible. That's his theory. He doesn't know for certain, but it makes a lot of sense. But if you look at like Metal Gear Solid, you can spawn in supply crates. So you put down like a marker, and then like I think you shoot a little tag or something, and it's like a GPS tag, and then a helicopter will fly over, and it will drop supplies down for you. Yeah. So naturally, what can you do with that?
Shoot someone with the tag.
Shoot someone with the tag, and something lands on them. So there's a boss you can see from like super far away at one point in the game. Yeah. And if you shoot her with that thing, it'll fall on her head and like take her out, basically. And so most game developers, like they see this and they remove it. Yeah. Hideo Kojima, when he discovers these things, he says not only does he make sure to keep them in, but if he discovers them, he'll like add something so that it'll be like, so like that one, I don't think it actually instantly kills that boss. I think she does something unique, like if you do that to her. So he'll find, when he finds exploits, he tries to like keep them in because it's really fun and really cool. And then he'll like do something new with it, which I think it's like, because the point of the game is to have fun. Yeah. Now that doesn't mean you give up on your game design, which I think is what Nintendo doesn't want to do. Like, because if you look at Goat Game, for example, like people like that Goat Simulator. People like that game, but that game's a mess and the only fun comes from the nonsense. And if every game did that, it wouldn't be that exciting. Yeah. You want like a tight experience. But if something is as harmless as a very thinking out of the box exploit that doesn't detract from other systems of the game, like hitting that boss over the head. Like, sure, you're like, okay, we can't let the boss instantly die. That'd be ridiculous. Yeah. But we'll make it so that they have half health, or they say something angry, or like just give it something. Or what was another example that was like that thing in Mario, the cat dive suit. It doesn't drastically change the game. It makes you move like 50% faster. Yeah. You're still playing the same game. You're just moving faster. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't ruin the experience of Mario to remove it. Yeah. like double jump in Mario was originally a bug.
Yeah.
So,
well, even Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor actually had that same problem as Assassin's Creed, which is you could do that jump assassinate.
Yeah.
And it was a lot easier. Shadow of War, they addressed it by you can do it, but enemies started like throwing weapons at you if you're up on ledges and they could see you.
Yeah.
And they would like, he's up there, stay away from the walls, and so they knew you'd do that. And then there's certain bosses who like know how bosses just have immunity. It's like if you did that to a boss too many times, he could get wise to you. Or if you like killed a guy with that and then you're like, I remember that trick from last time, he'll like grab you out of midair and slam you into the ground.
Yeah, no, that's like the Assassin's Creed, right? Mm-hmm. Like I don't know if they actually like they did the level thing, but let's say they wanted to fix that specifically. Mm-hmm. So what they could do is make it impossible to assassinate by jumping off a wall. Yeah, which would be lame. Yeah, what they could do instead is after the first one, the guards are like, whoa, and they like back up and like they just
hold their spears up, waiting for you to jump onto them.
Like it's more work, but instead of removing fun, like you should never remove fun to fix something. Yeah. If you like, you should probably try to fix it if it's ruining your vision. Yeah. If it turns out to be better than what you envisioned, then do that. But if it's actually ruining your vision, because I'm sure the Assassin's Creed guys, they want you to be a bit more stealthy. Yeah. If it's ruining your vision, don't remove the fun. Just make it even more interesting. Like, okay, the guards, like, let them have one or two, and then the guards get wise to it, and they're like, oh boy.
I don't think Assassin's Creed is an assassin game anymore, though, especially with that Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yeah, well, I think Odyssey, Origins, and Valhalla are fine games, but they should really call them, like, Assassin's Creed Gaiden or something. Yeah. Like, they should be like, another story, a different game. Yeah. Like, you know the 2D Assassin's Creed games? Mm-hmm. Those are actually still really? Assassin's Creed games. But these should be like, you can have the same universe, but they should not be the mainline Assassin's Creed name or something.
Yeah, they just want to keep their IP there because that IP helps sell sales. And
they're basically copying The Witcher. Yeah. Like, they're making action-adventure games.
Yeah, well, especially Valhalla, if you like heard anything about it, it's like actually really trying to copy The Witcher.
Yeah, it's very battle-based as well. And, so going back to the mini-maps, because it's tied in, one example he gave of a game that does it well was, I forget its name. Might be The Division, but I'm not sure. Anyways, when you want to go to a place, instead of a little dotted line appearing on your map, it appears in the game world, which means you still have all the like helpfulness of it, and you could still say, "Oh, this is kind of railroading me in a way." Yeah, you can ignore the dotted line, but it's there. But at the very least, you're looking at the game instead of at the minimap. No, the Batman games do that too, I think. Yeah. You get like a GPS on the road.
Do you know what would be insane? We like because those are like automatic finding systems. You'd have to put in the same amount of work. Like might even want like just the AI to do this as a subroutine. But it's basically like someone like for quests and stuff, you get quests and the guy like gives you directions and then it's like go to this statue and then past this statue and this thing. And so you get the lines to those like landmarkers.
Yeah. I think that could work. But it would also almost take away the point of them telling you interesting, like milestones because it's kind of fun to like figure it out. Yeah. And I think they shouldn't really have the dotted lines at all. But if you're going to have them, I think they should be in the world.
Well, I get really easily lost in games, and I think that's like actually in Legend of Zelda I don't. That's because you can actually see the world. But a lot of people, unfortunately, make their game worlds like so ill-defined and vague.
Well, that's exactly it. It's a crutch. Like, oh, well, we need this dotted line because everything in our game looks the same. Yeah. Then maybe get rid of the line and make, like, this street corner is the one that has the statue of the giant dragon. This
street's paving is different. Even.
Yeah, there's a giant, like, redwood over here. There's a fountain over here. There's, like, make everything have landmarks. Yeah. Make it sort of like Daggerfall, its dungeons. It has this very complex 3D mapping system and you need it because the dungeons are randomly generated and they're absolute messes. Like they're massive and it's neat, but man, they all all corridors look the same. You're like, where am I right now? What am I?
And that's what a dungeon would be like though. Wandering through it, you get lost.
And one thing you can do, at least in Daggerfall, is you can drop items. So you can be like, okay, this is where the sword is. This is where this is. Yeah. But if you're playing something like like, I don't know, Assassin's Creed or Breath of the Wild or The Witcher, you can't just drop a sword on the ground and, okay, now this is the spot with the sword in this massive world, this tiny little sword. I'll go back and find that. So in a tight dungeon, I think it's actually okay to be slightly...
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's good, but it's forgivable.
Yeah.
Whereas the entire Witcher, at least in the main starting area, being, like, brown and green...
Yeah.
And kind of all samey and locking you out of interesting areas.
That's like another thing, Blood and Wine. They actually make it not hideous. Horrible.
I think I know why The Witcher does it. It's because The Witcher is praised. Like, they have these flaws. A lot of the videos I was watching pointed them out in The Witcher as well. But what it's praised for often is its side quests.
Yeah.
Because its side quests are so well done. And I think what happened was the developers are afraid. They don't want you... They put a lot of work into these side quests.
Yeah.
They don't want you to miss them.
Yeah.
But look at Divinity Original Sin.
Yeah.
That is so much more fun. Like, stumbling onto these quests, finding out you've done them. And
also, Divinity, you know where you are. There's a mini-map, but you're like, this is the place with a giant bridge. And Divinity's world is smaller.
But it's not... I don't know if it is, really. Like, Divinity 2 is, like, massive.
I guess, yeah.
But, I mean, maybe it is, but it seems pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, you need this... Allow the player to explore and to stumble onto things.
And I think Divinity 2 actually had a massive flaw with its level locking.
Yeah.
Like, it has two different level lockings. One is item level locking.
And the other thing is that you can't actually fight something stronger than you.
Yeah, and there's mods to fix that. But in the first game, even items, like, you could pick up any item and start using it, basically.
As long as you're strong enough.
If you were strong enough, so that's how they partly did it. Also, you had to, like, when they're magic items... which they actually kind of got rid of, I realized, is like, there's some flaming swords in Divinity 1, which you need to have 2 pyromancy to actually wield the sword.
Yeah.
And then they had the tenebrium skill. It's like, you need tenebrium to use these weapons, or you'll get poisoned by touching them.
Yeah, no, I think that's really cool, actually. It's like, you can still use the weapon, it'll just hurt you.
Yeah. Well, hurt you as in reduce your HP to 1.
Yeah. But I think that's like, letting the player choose, I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to take this tenebrium weapon, even though I shouldn't be able to use it. Like, I think...
And you like, even the way they did their items is you find high-level items in the high-level zone. So if you can get them, you deserve them. Whereas like, oh yeah, you'll get a random drop and this is level 15 item and you can't use it.
Like, I think what they should actually do, like, not be level limited at all. Make it all stat limited. But then, like, if you have the flaming sword and you don't have pyromancy, it's just not a flaming sword. And if you have...
Well, what is it? Dungeon Lord says that.
Did it?
Yeah, so there's items in the game which require you to know magic item wielding.
Yeah.
And there's staffs in the game which require you to know staff wielding and magic staff wielding.
Right.
And so you pick up a sword and it's like the Holy Flaming Sword of Turgoth.
Yeah.
You like swing it about, and you're not all that good with one-handed weapons, so you can only like do the very basic like sort of hack chops with it. Then you level up your one-hand skill. You can start twirling about. Then you level up your magic weapon skill, and the sword catches fire when you swing it. And when you hit enemies, they burst into flame and they get affected by it. And there's staffs, which is like, okay, you can swing the staff about. Now I've learned magic staff. And you know that like really annoying purple effect when the goblins like poke you and you get like all those hits? You can do that with the magic weapons. And then like there's certain items which is like you spin them about, you complete combo, you slam them ground, and it actually like have projectiles come out of them and stuff.
I'm now realizing why I didn't know that about Dungeon Lords.
You had an unarmed person.
I beat the game without any weapons.
Yeah.
I played the entire game without weapons.
Which is a bit of a shame in some ways, because they actually have a really cool, like, I think it's one of the best done magic weapon systems in the game, which is like, okay, now I know how to use magic weapons, and it could be your person, like, speaking the runes or knowing how to activate them.
Yeah. And I think, like, if your strength is, like, for every point your strength is less than the required, I think you should lose, like, 1 action point. And, like, for every point below dexterity, you should lose, like, 5% aim or something.
Yeah.
Like, they should let you use the items. It's just like, look, you clearly can't use this thing.
I almost feel like a lot of games should take ideas from Dungeon Lords.
Yeah.
And, like, its design is actually incredible.
Yeah, no, I think...
It's an incredibly ambitious, insane vision of a game that they couldn't really pull off.
Yeah, I think it was, like... It's one of those games where, like, the guy had a whole bunch of really good ideas and just couldn't quite implement it.
And couldn't even quite program it.
But, like it's like if we complaining about all this stuff made a game right now. Like we're like, okay, let's make a game, and we would not know, like, you know, we can complain on and on about The Witcher or about Assassin's Creed, but Ubisoft especially, and CD Projekt Red, less so. I think, like, let's Ubisoft, because they actually know what they're doing, like a lot more. Yeah. There's so many things that they are getting right that the only reason, like, we're not complimenting on them is because they've gotten rid of problems. They've made them invisible. Yeah. Like, they have so many, they're doing so many things right that it's, but if we made a game, we're like, yeah, okay, we're going to, like, from a design perspective, we're going to have a mini map that is based on Legend of Zelda, like the first Legend of Zelda, where it shows you where you are in relation to the world. Yeah. But it doesn't give away anything. It doesn't spoil anything. It's useful, but you only look at it to, okay, where am I? Oh, I'm on the far right of the map. Okay, I'll move left 3 and then I'll move down 2. Yeah. I think that's one of the best mini maps out there, really. I
mean, and even like a quick counter thing I do, because like if we're designing this game, I still like maps because you can sort of use them to like plot things out. Maps exist in the real world, so there could be item maps which you pick up in no sort of like Minecraft. Yeah, like there could be maps which you literally like they take up a hand and you can like plot things out with them.
I don't know. I think that would be dangerous. Like, it might be possible, but I think it could be dangerous because then it might just become a mini map and you're just holding it all the time.
It could be like a map could be a treasure marker. Like, it leads you to a location.
Yeah, well, I think like Sekiro, I think you could do something like that where you have the wind blow towards locations. But I really don't think you should be relying on maps. I think the world should be, like, right now, having not played Dungeon Lords in, I want to say, like, almost, like, 10, 15 years, something like that, I think I could fairly confidently say I could navigate the map. And it's a large map.
Yes, it is. Like, even,
the one thing I couldn't do is find the Asian martial arts house, because, man, that thing, I get confused trying to find it.
Okay, Cameron. So, do you think you could, right now, just, like, map out going through the sewers at the beginning and getting out of it?
No.
Because I think I could, because I've played that part of the game so much. But I know the exact spots of it.
But I could draw Breath of the Wild's map. Like, I could draw Breath of the Wild's map, no problem. Mm-hmm. And I think that is you don't need mini-maps for games that are designed that well.
Yeah. Well, even Dungeon Lord's mini-map, I think, is actually a pretty good one.
I don't remember it.
Okay, it gives you a very limited zone. Like, it's a very small circle, and basically shows you the corners of where things are and where world walls are.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't even like that too much. Because you can see a wall. Like, stop looking at the map and start playing the game.
I like maps. I like looking at them, and I play the game while looking at them.
Yeah, I really think...
You think I don't? You think I'm a lesser being?
No, I think you're enjoying it less.
No, I think I'm enjoying it.
Like Breath of the Wild's... not Breath of the Wild. Legend of Zelda's maps, right? A dungeon map would show each room, like, bump, 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 bump. So you know where you're standing in each room, and you know where each room is in relation to each other. Yeah. And that's it. And it does, like, that seems fine.
Yeah, that's what the Dungeon Lord's map does. It shows you where doors are.
I mean, I'm not super keen on that, even. Like, this doesn't it's just squares. It's like square, 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 square.
All right, well, how's this? Square. We have a skill, which is a map skill, which you can level up, and it can show you things.
No, like, I don't know...
You don't want your players to have the option of not getting lost?
No, but you don't get lost if it's... Like, why are you getting lost? Like, if you have a map that shows you every room and shows you where you are in every room, why on earth are you getting lost?
Okay.
Like, can you not...
Some people have troubles navigating.
Navigating what?
3D spaces. They need a 2D plane to stare at.
But I just said that. You have a map that shows every room, and it shows where you are in each room. Like, what are you getting lost with? Like, okay, I want to go to the engineering bay, right? Okay, well, I have to go up 2 rooms and left and right 2 rooms.
Yeah, that's what Dungeon Lord's maps are. They have just yellow squares where doors are, though.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, even the doors I wouldn't like. But I don't see why you need, like, a map that tells you, like, where every bush and shrub is and everything.
That's not... never mind. Whatever.
Okay, so...
No, I'm agreeing to disagree.
No, because why are you arguing against me if you're agreeing with me? Like, I said the map I want, and then you said, no, I want a more complex map. And then I said, and then you said...
I'm saying, like, a little... Like, I like maps. Like, I actually... like picking up a map and looking at topography.
Yeah.
I find fun. And so if you have a physical map in the world where you can say, hey, someone's mapped out this world, I would like that. Because people do that. People have maps for a reason. Maps
but
exist.
I don't... Yeah, no, I think that's fine. I don't want a mini-map, though, like that.
Yeah.
Like, in Breath of the Wild, you can press minus and you have a map of the entire world. Yeah. And you can be like, you can plan out stuff. Like, okay, I'll go here, I'll go here. You can use your little scope to, like, click on areas and, like, make them appear.
Yeah.
Like, boom, boom, boom.
That's what I was saying with the map.
But I'm talking about mini-maps.
Okay.
That's a very different thing.
Right.
Because the mini-map, you're playing the game while you're staring at this little circle. A map, you stop, you pause.
Well, no, you look back and forth. You use both. People pay attention to two things at once.
But I really don't think... I think they're a huge, huge crutch.
I think they're a huge crutch.
No, like, I actually think they're a major problem in game design.
Alright, anyway, so because this is obviously your game, we'll get rid of the mini-map. And we'll make you blind in the left eye so you can't even think of looking for one.
No, like, why do you like the... Like, why would you... Okay, would you rather have a game where you can... Oh, look at that bush, I'm going to go over there. Or would you rather, like, oh, there's a bush on the minimap, rotate 3, walk towards it, oh, there's an enemy behind me, rotate, like...
I do both!
And if you have this map, right, why does the developer...
I'm not addicted to minimaps like you.
No, Connor.
You have your problem. It's like you have a minimap addiction. You have to use them if you have them.
If you have this map, right, you have this minimap, why... I'm the developer of the game, right? Yeah. I have this minimap in the game. Why should I bother making anything look distinct? Because players can just look at the minimap for everything. You're getting lost in game. You yourself said you get lost in games.
Yes. You
shouldn't be getting lost in games. And this minimap isn't helping you. It's hindering you. It's making you rely on it. So there was a psychological study done, which was that people's memories were worsened by... Like, video games improve, like, mental health, right? Mm-hmm. Unless they have a minimap.
Can I have a compass?
You can have... No, like, Skyrim's map is amazing. I think Skyrim's, like, compass thing is amazing. You can have a compass.
Right. I'll take one off that episode.
But they actually found that players that had, like, a minimap, right? Mm-hmm. Weren't gaining mental benefits from the game because instead of building connections in their brain, they were instead just following something. So it was mindless, and you were actually giving up your ability to navigate rather than learning landmarks and learning navigation.
Ability to navigate.
So... Like, this wasn't in any of the videos I watched. This is a study I read previously where they were seeing, like, are video games actually good for you? And they found video games are good for you unless they have a mini-map, basically. Like, this sounds like I'm just using this to, like, push my narrative. But, like, it was basically...
Okay, right. No mini-map, I understand.
Players were relying, like, in a study. So it's not just like, oh, this is just me. The majority of people were relying on the mini-map to the point where they weren't... It was like damaging their cognitive function. Like, and I mean, you, minimap lover, you can't go around downtown without getting hopelessly lost. So, there you are.
I don't go downtown. If I had a minimap downtown, I wouldn't get lost.
But if you just learned how to navigate 3D space, then your brain would grow.
I don't wanna. I like my spell shriveled brain.
And you wouldn't just be like following a little dotted line to complete your checklist. Right. So then our game...
Your game... would have like a thing where you can unlock athletics and jump higher and climb better. And oh, nope, you don't want that either.
No, so what I would do, right, is you would have like Skyrim system. Right?
Yeah.
But... you would still have tiers. So once you got your like athletics, like your jumping, let's say, from 20 to 35, then
you could do the front flip.
You could well, I'm torn though actually, because like
in the dodge roll.
Why not just be able to do that from the beginning?
Because people don't know how to do those things. And maybe you don't want to play a dodgy, flippy, floopy, flary. Maybe you want to just play a guy with a giant shield, and you don't want to bother with all that finicky. And if it started from the beginning, then that'd be integrated as a core mechanic instead of another mechanic you can choose from.
All right, I'll accept it. Yeah. Okay, so you can learn to like do a dodge roll if you like get your dodge roll skill up,
or you can learn to hide behind shield.
Yeah, and you can just like bonk, bonk, bonk. But I think get rid of levels; they're done. Then you can have items that are restricted by stats, but you can still use them. You're just terrible with them.
Yeah. Well, even in
Like if
Dungeon Lords, you can wield items that are too heavy for your character to wield, and they like will swing them down, have troubles with them, and you can use a bow, but your guy has no idea what he's doing with a bow, and so you just kind of like pathetically plink them.
That's good. I'd get rid of fast travel, right? But I would make it like
this weird like moonstone system.
I'd make it possible, but like difficult and expensive, right? So that you would
like the carts in Skyrim, which lead to cities.
Yeah, actually, you know what is weird though? I actually like Skyrim's fast travel.
Mm-hmm.
Like Skyrim's another game like Dungeon Lords actually that has a huge amount of flaws, but I love a lot of systems in it. Like Daggerfall, I don't like its fast travel because you can go anywhere in the world. It just costs money, and it doesn't cost much money. Like it should cost like 10 times as much, I think.
Yeah.
But why it doesn't cost 10 times as much is because the world is absolutely boring. Like so, if you couldn't fast travel, it would be a really boring game because Daggerfall's world sucks. It's massive, but it's awful.
Yeah.
Like its dungeons are cool, and there's like thousands of dungeons, so that's great. But the world itself sucks. Might even be millions of dungeons. I don't know. I think there's probably just a couple 100,000 or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
But so I think Skyrim's like fast travel system is actually decent because it's like you have to have been there once.
Yeah.
And then if you want to go really far, you can. I think actually get rid of the carts almost.
I like.
Or make it so you have to ride the carts.
I wouldn't like that. Because
then you could have like, it's not just boring. Like you don't just get locked into a really long animation. I think that's pointless and stupid. Yeah. You might as well just fast travel. But instead,
you walk right into the Imperial ambush.
Yeah, you get beset by bandits. You can walk around on the cart. You can hop off. You can actually make work. If you're gonna have that system, make it something. And like Skyrim, I think its minimap is amazing. Its UI very uncluttered. You have got your health, stamina thing. There's even a mod I have that turns off everything unless you get hit. Then it shows your health. If you cast a spell, it shows your mana. You run, it shows your stamina. And then you press X and it shows your minimap. And its minimap is just it's just a compass.
Yeah.
It's really good. And there's a spell in Skyrim called Clairvoyance, which another amazing thing. Like it shows you a line towards your goal.
Yeah.
Like if you want to do it, you have the option, but then you're using up your magic and you're like following.
And you're following some line and it makes you stupider.
And that line is like, actually no. Have you ever used Clairvoyance?
Yes, it's awful.
Like
I've walked off the cliff.
Help you in the slightest. It gives you like a general direction, basically.
Yeah.
Which I think is great. Like I think it should just be kind of a vague direction. I think it should make like half the world glowy and half the world not glowy. So you're like, okay, so this is the direction I walk in, basically. It should give, and then like as your skill levels up, you get like a narrower and narrower cone. Like so, because you want to explore the world. You don't just want to skip past it, right? So you have the clairvoyance spell, and it gives you like a cone in the rough direction of like where it is. All right.
And it highlights the ground this sort of weird orange color and like shows footprints.
Now the difference from Dungeon Lords with fast travel I would do is the fast travel locations would be where you want to be rather than like super far out of the way.
Alright, here's the Elven City. Its fast travel point is on this pinnacle outside of it. It's like, here's the Elven Coast City.
What's that like walled city where like the fast travel point is past the dragon nest? Like you actually
That's the Elf City.
You have to beat several dragons in order to activate the fast travel. That's like 10-minute walk away.
That's the Elven Outpost.
It's all, and then like, okay, here is the starting human city. Yeah. You have to like go through like 3 locked districts to get to this like fast travel.
Also,
that is constantly trying to murder you with like moon elves.
2 pieces of context in Dungeon Lords. Well, actually 3. So we played it on an old computer, and so switching zones, you actually have to consider, have I done everything I can in this zone? Because loading a zone would take about a minute or 2, sometimes even 3.
Yeah.
So that's one part of it.
Zones were like a big consideration.
Yeah. So loading things. Another thing is why it's such a big consideration is we had a limited amount of time we could actually play on the computer.
Yeah.
We could play for an hour, and so going back and forth between zones that like take 3 minutes of your time.
Yeah.
Was like kind of
or having to walk for 15 minutes after fast traveling.
Yeah, well, so that's one thing. So traveling between cities in that game, like you walk in that game, you literally walk for like half an hour to an hour between locations.
Yeah.
And that's if you're lucky because the game has a random encounter system, which is enemies will spawn. And it won't be like, oh, it's a random encounter. Okay, we fight and move on. It's like, this random encounter will spawn 50 giant spiders, which can kill you.
But the game had an engine limitation.
Yeah.
which shows whenever it calculated a random encounter, the game would freeze. So you were like never.
And you could basically outrun any enemy in the game.
Yeah. Everything, I think.
Yeah.
Even like the wolves, because the pathing was terrible.
And their lunge attack, if you kept running away from their lunge attack, they wouldn't hit you.
Yeah, they'd miss. Like the wolves would be right beside you, but they'd miss like every time.
And so you just had to run fast enough and then spam E on a door and get let into the city.
And Dungeon Lords, by the way, in case like it sounds really exciting and fun, it is, but you can't really buy it anywhere.
You have to buy You have to buy basically the old edition on CD.
Well, you don't want to buy the old one. You want to buy the gold edition.
Yeah.
Because the Steam edition kind of gets rid of all the charm.
Yeah.
The 2015 edition, or the
XIMIE,
whatever it's called, that one kind of rebalances the game.
Yeah, and the game's
like puts a bunch of artificial restrictions in that don't need to be there. And if you do get the gold edition, though, you can't play as the ogre because you literally cannot beat the game.
Yeah.
And there is fixes for that you can look up, but if it's your first time, you might just be confused.
Even then, don't play him because he's the worst.
Yeah, his scaling is... He actually becomes worse as he levels up.
Every single class has exponential growth. His is reverse exponential.
Yeah, it's like a logistical curve. Like, he starts gaining, like, every level gives him nothing, basically.
Yeah.
He starts as the strongest, so if you just want to do, like, a quick run, he's kind of fun. Mm-hmm. But then you're stuck. Also, must be male.
Yeah.
And all the best classes in the game are female, so...
Well, no.
Yeah. All the prestige classes are female.
No, they aren't. Those are the female prestige classes.
Yeah, but there's no male prestige class.
There's a bunch of male prestige classes.
No, there's not.
Yeah, there is. Deadeye's one of them.
No, women can be a Deadeye too, can't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no...
Oh, locked.
Yeah, like if you play as a female, you can be any class in the game. If you play as a male, you can't be. I mean, of course, you can't be like a cleric if you're a female because only the gnomes can be clerics or something. And
anyone can be a cleric. It's just gnomes are good at them.
Right, and gnomes are only male.
There's classes that are locked to elves. There are classes that are locked to humans.
But if you want to be the Valkyrie or the
sorceress,
or the Death Touch ninja thingy,
or the Phoenix,
like all the really strong classes.
Well. There's a bunch of strong classes. It's just...
Well, I think, like, besides the Dead Shot or whatever, I think the female classes are the best.
The Dread Knight is anyone.
Right.
And he's really strong.
I'm pretty sure you can summon one with nether magic.
No, the Dread Knight class, though.
Yeah, but you just get good at nether magic.
The full power... There is prestige class. You just never played them, I think. I never got them. Because, like, you be a wizard...
Prestige.
Yeah. You're a wizard, and then there's more things you unlock down the line of being a wizard. I think you just never played them. I think that's the... No,
but I did a lot of, like, looking up the game while I played it. Like, because I wanted the best of everything. So I was, like, looking it up and, like...
I mean, the Deadeye is the strongest class in the game. But...
Well, I think the Valkyrie actually is, I've heard. But the Deadeye is, like, feels the most powerful.
If you want the raw strongest class, it actually is the Dread Knight. I looked it up. And it's because they get a special ability... which is, they get a super heavy armor class, like it's one more than anyone else, and it literally gives them invincibility, and every time you level it up, it gives you damage resistance at percentile, and you can get to level 10.
Right.
And that gives you 99% damage resistance.
Right, but you don't want that, because there's some enemies in the game that are nearly unkillable.
Yeah.
So what you want is, the ninja and the Deadeye.
Yeah.
They have a chance, like 10% chance or something.
You can keep leveling up. There's no level caps.
To instantly kill an enemy. Which makes hitting like some enemies way quicker.
Yeah.
And the only difference is the Deadeye can do it with ranged weapons.
Yeah. He can only do it with ranged weapons.
Whereas the ninja can attack way faster. So I think the ninjas probably gets theirs more often. But they can't like one-shot a dragon, whereas the Deadeye can. And... to like one-shot those statues, it's tricky because you have to like land on their platform. But you can do it. But yeah, so yeah, basically Dungeon Lords combined with Skyrim and Breath of the Wild. That would be like sort of my perfect... Like you take Breath of the Wild as the base.
Yeah.
You throw in Skyrim's...
crazy underground
modability. I actually love just the getting the loot, getting the weapons better. So, but the thing is, what's it called? Dark Souls does it better. Like, every weapon in Dark Souls behaves differently.
Yeah.
And there is still a bunch of them. So, Dark Souls weapons and armor and whatnot.
Yeah.
But sort of Skyrim...
The getting them of Skyrim and, like, the weird random underground...
Well, actually, Dark Souls, like, the way you get items is also really good. But like, the dungeon design of Dark Souls... Skyrim, there's something about Skyrim. I think the modability of Skyrim.
Possibly.
I don't know, like, Skyrim has... like, I love Skyrim, and I don't know why. And I think it might be because whenever you want something to change, there's a mod for it, and you can just grab it.
Yeah.
I think the enemies, maybe, of Skyrim, like... Or the world. Like, Dark Souls is a game about... Yeah, this is it. Dark Souls is a game about fighting.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild is a game about exploring.
Yeah.
Skyrim is actually a role-playing game.
Yeah.
Like, you can become a merchant. You can become an alchemist. You can become a potion seller. Like, it's actually a game... I've barely played Skyrim, actually. Like, because I've never owned a computer with a graphics card.
Yeah.
But I was... playing Skyrim, like, in my laggy way I sometimes do when I'm just really want to play, even though I know it's terrible. Yeah. I discovered that, like, you get, like, that red flower and that blue flower.
Yeah.
They're like, okay. You make a fire resistance potion with them, you can sell it for, like, 10 times their value. Like, man, you can make money quickly if you just do potions.
Yeah. And then you give it the leveling, sort of, and the magic. Dungeon Lords.
What I also love about Skyrim is the 3D, like, the verticality of the world. Yeah. Like, you can snipe someone from way across the map. Like, Breath of the Wild, the loading distance isn't actually great. Like, it's decent, but it's not great. Whereas Skyrim, like, you can really do some cool stuff. Like, you can pick off a bandit camp from afar.
And Dungeon Lords guards.
No, Dungeon Lords, I would take...
The magic?
Like, the game design. Yeah. Like, this weapon does this for... This weapon, you can still use, apparently. Yeah. The magic systems. Like, there's, like, 4 of them, and they're all amazing.
5.
There's, like, nether magic, there's rune magic, there's book magic, there's...
Cleric.
Isn't that book magic?
Nope.
And...
I never figured out rune magic. There's cleric magic, and there is dark magic, which I never figured out how to do as well.
There's dark magic?
Yeah. Which involves using weapons and items and stuff, and, like, good things.
But, like, the nether magic is... Like, every enemy you kill in the game drops items. Yeah. And you can use those items to cast spells. And it's like a crafting system of spells. And it's amazing. It's like... Take, like, the crafting of Breath of the Wild and the crafting of Dungeon Lords. Like, because food for Breath of the Wild, the amazing, like, crafting of spells in Dungeon Lords. And then Skyrim, like, its potion crafting is really good. Yeah. Spell crafting would be cool that, like, Oblivion had and whatnot. But...
And the enchanting of Skyrim. I love Skyrim's enchanting, actually.
Yeah, that's a pretty fun system.
But sort of even mix this enchanting a little bit with Dungeon Lords stuff.
Yeah. And make, like, if you... I think the idea of, like, weapons, like, or you're not strong enough, I think that's fun as well. So throw that in there. But make it, like... You can still use it. It's just, like...
Well, so you know in Dungeon Lords, that giant headless guy with the axe?
Yeah.
You can kill him and get his axe.
Ooh.
So if you don't have high enough strength, when you use it, you, like, swing the thing wildly about, and it's, like, really hard to use. So my ogre, I got high enough level and strength and, like, weapons. It turns out it's a one-handed weapon, and he could use it in one hand.
Ooh, now this is...
And it is, like, so awesome to wield. That thing is like, wahoo!
Oh, I think I remember that, actually, yeah. Now this is a tricky one, because I said I want the weapons of Dark Souls, how they're all unique and play differently. Yeah. But I think the game with the best fighting system I've ever played, this includes Mount and Blade, this includes, like, War of the Roses or whatever it's called, Chivalry. Yeah. I think the best fighting system I've ever played in an RPG is Dungeon Lords. Yeah. It feels so good. Yeah. Like, it's really basic, though. Like, you can basically do a combo attack in...
Combos are based on how you walk. It's literally how you press the arrow keys.
Like, if you move... like, left, you'll attack right. You move left, you'll attack left. You move right, you'll attack left. You move left, you'll attack right. Yeah. You move forward, you'll lunge. You move backwards, you'll do a little, like, thing attack. Yeah. You,
stand still.
You stand still. If you attack, like, 3 times, you'll, like, spin around. Like, but it's so, like, intuitive. Mm-hmm. It's like their jumping system is also super intuitive. Yeah. Like, you just do...
Oh, yeah, that's why the Deadeye is overpowered.
Like, it's not like you press a button and it's like, oh, this is the triple jump, and a different button is the spin attack. It's like, they're all the same. You only have a move and an attack button, and yet you can do so much with it.
Yeah, so I remember why the Deadeye is the dumb class it is. And how you're supposed to do it is you take the Goblin. Yeah. You max out athletics, and you start getting Deadeye, And then whenever there's enemies, you backflip and you shoot arrows because you can shoot arrows while upside down.
And you can't get hit.
Melee attacks can't hit you when you're backflipping, and range attacks miss most of the time.
Oh, and that's the dodging in Dungeon Lords as well. Yeah. It's just about like backflipping, jumping sideways, rolling sideways. Like it's all about movement.
Yeah, but that's how you do the.
And like in Dark Souls, you roll to dodge, right? Mm-hmm. But it doesn't. It looks kind of weird.
Yeah.
Whereas in Dungeon Lords, it's like, wow, this is some super athlete like hopping around. And it's really cool.
And you can still get hit while dodge rolling. It's just you're avoiding the majority of their attacks.
Yeah. Actually, Dungeon Lords did so. I want.
There was a second game made and then it got canceled.
I want to look up the game designer and see like if he's done anything because like it's got so much going for it.
They're making a game called Eye of the Cyclops and it's like in sort of like a Greek setting, like on islands, and it's really bright colors and was in like dark, dingy forest.
Oh, that's cool.
And like there's mountains and stuff that like has a brief build for it.
It was the 2012 edition, I think that was, and I was really excited for it actually. Like,
yeah.
And then
like you'd look it up and read these things about it, and
then it came out and it just like kind of broke everything.
And then I tried playing the Steam edition. They fixed it, but they didn't.
Yeah.
The Steam edition locking classes is the dumbest thing it did.
Yeah, that's a terrible idea.
Like, oh, you can only use these magic. Oh, you want to be this class? Okay, you can't do any of these other things. Like, no, this game's all about its ridiculous amount of choices.
And like you can be better at stuff, but that's different from
like choosing a class in.
Oh, I also have the death system from Dungeon Lords.
Dungeon Lords, though, choosing a class didn't limit your choices. It gave you more.
Yeah.
Whereas they made this is your class, you stick to your lane. Whereas in Dungeon Lords, like, I'm going to be a wizard. Alright, you've unlocked better spellcasting, you can now wield a staff, you can now wield flaming staffs, you can now wear mage's armor and get the bonuses from them.
Yeah, or it's like, I'm going to be a ninja. Your attacks now have a 10% chance to kill, and you attack twice as fast.
You can now wear the ninja gear as well.
Yeah.
And use ninja weapons.
And it's not like it might sound weird because we're saying, oh, you don't like restrictions, but then you're saying you can wear the ninja gear and you can... So it's not like you find ninja gear in the world and you're like, you can't use this unless you're a ninja. Instead, what it does is you have to do a series of quests to even become that class.
Yeah.
And then that person that does those quests for you will give you exclusive access to their store.
Yeah. And then even then, you can actually use those items. If you can get those items, you can use them. You just won't get the ninja bonuses from them.
Yeah.
It'll just be like some nice light armor.
It's actually like... It's a weirdly, like, amazingly good systems. Like
also, the armor durability. It actually had that. Remember how your weapons and items had durability and you can repair them, they break, and they get worse, and so you repair them, like you equip shoulder pauldrons and belts and rings and shoes, and then...
The shield breaking was, like, definitely the thing I remember the most.
Yeah, but you're, like, running along and then your pants disappear, and you're like, what? Where'd my pants go?
Oh, yeah, or you'd be fighting in a swamp so long that, like, you'd suddenly be naked in the swamp.
And you'd, like... desperately have repair kits to fix your armor.
But for some reason, it didn't feel like items were still great when you found them. Like, I don't know how they managed it.
It's because their durability is so long and you can just repair them.
Yeah, you could repair them, I guess. So, like, The Witcher's durability is actually... That's another system
also, you can go to a shop, sell an item, buy it back.
And the reason it worked was because there wasn't fast travel, I think. Mm-hmm. Because what this meant was, when your items broke, it wasn't annoying, like, oh, I lost this item. It was like... man, this dungeon, I'm going to have to pull out my secondary item, and like, it was like, you felt like you're getting worn down by the dungeon. Mm-hmm. You're like, I've been fighting so long.
I'm running out of bone dust and old dead man's hair.
It's like, I've been fighting so long, I'm out of bat wings and bone dust, my pants are gone, and my sword's about to break.
All my runes are needing to recharge.
I've lost my shield, my runes are all on cooldown.
My spell books are depleted.
My spell books are empty. And, like...
time to leave myself in the inventory for 2 hours. I'll go do something else.
Like, but beyond the huge amount of exploits... actually, the other thing is almost how fun the exploits were. But I know that is a huge amount of the fun.
Yeah.
But the death system as well in that game was really cool. If you died, it would immediately cast Sanctuary, which prevents you from dying and makes you invincible.
And heals you to full health.
Yeah. And then your spellbook would lose Sanctuary.
Yeah.
And... I think what the cleric did, actually, was not, you didn't even gain new spells. You just could get more of the same spell. Because like, you're only allowed one sanctuary, but I'm pretty sure clerics could have more than one sanctuary.
They learned it. Yeah, they could just get more of it. You had sanctuary, you actually had a certain amount of life charges as well.
Yeah.
Then when you ran out of them, if you didn't have sanctuary or anything and you wanted to come back to life, it would decrease your stats.
Yeah.
Which made my ogre even worse.
But it was, and I think like a lot of stuff, like, if you weren't a wizard, you just filled your inventory with spellbooks.
Yeah.
But a wizard didn't need spellbooks. He could just cast spells.
Well, you learn the spellbooks. You just fill your inventory with scrolls. Because there's a thing in the game, which is you have a spellbook and you cast it, there's a chance it fizzles. Like, you don't cast a spell. So, like, you want to cast Shooting Star, and you wave your hand about, and nothing happens. You're like, oh, come on. And so you just cast it over and over and over again. Then you might get, like, one Blazing Star. Then you become a wizard. And it's like, okay, this is cool. I can now, like, cast this guaranteed. Then you level up high enough as a wizard, and it's like, all right, I'm going to cast Blazing Star. And 3 of them come out. And you're like, what?
Yeah, so it just makes... It doesn't restrict you. It just lets you do it easier. Like, you don't need special items, and you don't need special gear. And it lets you do it better. Like, it like, actually, like, looking back on that game, like, it actually had so many good design choices.
Yeah, a lot of bad design choices.
Yeah. And, like, a very stupid AI.
Yeah.
But also, like, the unit variety was amazing.
Also, it has terrifying units. Like,
yeah.
I know there's, like, a lot of things have mimics, and, like, mimics can be spooky, but the mimics in that game is, like, chests in that game are big. Like, they feel like, oh, this is a chest, and you're excited. Yeah. And especially the
lockpicking system in that game is amazing.
Yeah, especially, like, the chests that only mimics can be are these giant, like, wooden chests, and, like, you open those things up, usually a bunch of loot will pour out. But these things are, like, the size of your character. Now you touch them, and these horrible crab spider legs unfold from them.
Oh, yeah.
This giant tongue comes out, these huge teeth, and then it breathes fire.
And that kills you because they're really strong.
Yeah. And then you, like, walk down a corridor. So the games have a design thing a lot of older games did, which they had triggers, which are basically trip lines.
Yeah.
Which are invisible trip lines, which you walk across and they trigger events in the game. Dungeon Lord's trip lines weren't invisible. You could actually see them. You knew where they were as triggering events. And so there's certain areas in the game where there's enemies hiding in closets, and when you walk across the trip line, they'll come out.
So you could hop over.
You could hop over it. Their legs will poke out sometimes. Like, if you get the right angle, you
like
can...
in the Mustard Mansion?
Yeah, the Mustard Mansion is, like, the main one. But if you get the right angle, you can actually kill them. They won't do anything.
After playing Mustard Mansion once, forever after, it's like shoot a fireball at those walls, because I did not want the spiders jumping out of me again.
Like, the whole map's like that, though, actually. Like, when you start looking for it, you can see these little threads everywhere. And you're like, did this person just, like, do that on purpose, or...
And, like, let's talk a bit about athletics as well. Because the jumping, like, it got further and further and further.
Yeah.
Which meant the world wasn't like, you need a tier 2 jump to get here. It was like, if you can pull this off somehow, you can do it.
Yeah.
Like, which Morrowind actually did. And a lot of...
Well, play cleric can get flying in that game.
A lot of... it's called a... immersive sim, I think it's the genre. So like Dishonored, Thief, Ultima even, Ultima Underworld, Prey, like all these games.
Yeah.
You didn't unlock abilities to do things. It was more, if you can figure out how to do it, you can do it. Like, we're not going to bar you artificially like in The Witcher, like, oh, you got up here but you need a key.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you actually, in Prey, apparently, there's like these ridiculously hard to get, you have to like do a bunch of exploits, get to this really hard to get area, and then there's like a little note from the developers up there like, hey, good job, here, have this cool thing. Like, like it's basically all about, they're kind of like Metroidvanias, except
it's like...
You're not even given an item to do it.
Especially, there's Thief, and there's a game which I think is the closest game to Thief that there is out there, which is Styx Master of Shadows. Which is, those games are insanely in-depth designed levels.
Well, that comment aged poorly, because the studio that made Dusk has actually made like a Thief clone.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Yeah, but like they're insanely, like, they design their levels, and there's a lot going on level. Like, we'll do one level, like there's 10 levels in the game, each level is really hard, and there's a ton of depth in each level.
Yeah, Hitman games are kind of like that too, really. Like, Hitman doesn't have the movement options that these other games do.
Yeah.
I also learned from watching these, like, immersive sims. Yeah. Arcane Studios, like the people that make Dishonored.
Yeah.
And I think some of them even worked on Thief or something.
Yeah.
Or they got, like, they consulted with them.
They made the new Thief.
Right. But they made, what's it called? Ars Fatalis. That game where you draw to make spells and it has like crazy interactions in the world. Like you can poison a pie or you can use a cheese to lure out rats.
Yeah.
Those crazy systems. And then they wanted to make Ars Fatalis 2. So they were working on it. And they went to EA and they said, hey, what do you think? And EA's like, no, we're not going to do it. And they're like, oh, great, we need a publisher. So they went to Ubisoft and they said, hey, can we publish Ars Fatalis 2? And they're like, well, we want you guys to make a game for us, but we don't like your universe. Yeah. So how about you do something in our Might and Magic universe? So then they made Dark Messiah of Might and Magic.
Oh, really?
And then they made Dishonored. Like, all those games are Arcane Studios, basically.
Huh.
But then Looking Glass Games, they're the ones that made, like, Thief, and they made... I think they might have... They're all related. Like, it's weird. And, like, the video I was watching, it was the immersive sim, the game genre that kills companies. Like, there's, like... Arcane Studios, I think, is the only one, but like all the other companies died. Like it is for some reason they get great Deus Ex, like they get great reviews, people love them, and but they're like they don't sell well. And I think it's because they're too complicated for casual players and too like free form for someone that's really intense. It's more like a playground. Yeah. I think the Metal Gear Solid games are kind of in there too. Yeah. But they're actually successful, so.
The new Thief game is more like Dishonored than like Thief. Like the new one that was released. So, you could kill people in it, basically. Right. And there's a lot more fighting.
Well, you can in Thief, it's just...
You can't kill people in Thief.
Well, you can knock them out.
Can you, though? Like, there is a arrow, which is the strongest weapon in the game.
Yeah, but you have your little blackjack thing. You just, bonk.
If you're lucky enough to sneak up and hit someone with it and they're not wearing a helmet.
Yeah, I think that's like a big part of the game, is bonking people.
And they wake up! Like, Thief, you cannot hurt people.
But, yeah, it's a...
Thief is like that game with the mouse where you're like hiding from the giant rats.
Mappy?
No, it's a stealth game. Okay. It's a stealth game where you're a tiny little mouse and you're like going through these dungeons and everything's bigger than you and way stronger and you cannot fight them.
Or Rain World. I gotta play more Rain World at some point. That game is... I don't know. I think I hate it, but but there's people that like they say it's like one of the most compelling games ever, and I can see why. But it's awful. It's like really hard to control. Your character is pathetic. The world is trying to kill you at every turn. But there is something about it. It's like, how many different ways can I die? It's like, oh, this is a neat thing. I found like the entire game is kind of a spoiler just talking about it because it's all about discovery. But just this early enemy is like this giant dragonfly. And they have like this sort of like long, or it's like a mosquito more. They have this long hanging like rear abdomen thing. Yeah. And so I found you could jump and grab onto it and then hold onto it and it could like carry you around. I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. So this is like a traversal option. Yeah. I don't know why the first time that happened to me I didn't get instantly murdered, but later on I was like, oh, there's the thing. I'm going to jump on it. And it just like speared me. It just murdered me super dead.
Well, I think we'll get there.
Yeah, but yeah. Game
design.
Game design, yeah. Dungeon Lord's best designed game ever. That's my conclusion.
Nostalgia lens?
No, like, I didn't think it was good design. I thought it was a terrible game that was fun, but looking back, it has a lot of good choices in it. It's just, I wonder if anyone's like...
Well, I'm going to look that up once we're done.
Done a little accessible version. Yeah. Alright, anyways, ciao.
Yes.